Hey guys, what's going on? This is the AP podcast. Coming back again. I know it's been a slight hiatus. We've kind of been focusing on the Instagram and a lot of those graphics we've been making. So make sure to check us out at AP Sports Media.
Yes, sir.
Um,
We do grind on the Instagram, I'll tell you that.
Archer even got posted on Lamar Jackson's page.
All I'm saying is Lamar and I'm kind of in with Lamar. Like, I think he's going to come in the pod in a couple episodes. No.
We got the DMs going and everything. But, yeah, I guess we can get right into it. So I'm here with Archer, of course. We're going to talk a little bit about the NBA today. The first set of scrimmages was yesterday. The game that everyone was really watching was the Nuggets-Wizards because Jokic was playing point guard and Bol Bol was playing.
That was a very experimental lineup. Like, everything about that game was just experimental.
I mean, Bol Bol ended up getting 16 points, 6 blocks, and 10 rebounds. So his
pretty close to a triple-double.
General trade value, all that skyrocketed after that game.
Literally everything about Bol Bol, like, I feel like he was just so slept on because he got picked late and he got the injury and everything. Like,
I mean, this is a guy that Shaq said he would have taken number 1 overall if he had the chance.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying
there's a reason Shaq's not a general manager.
But but at the same time, I mean, the fact that anyone would pick him number 1 overall is impressive.
And then he went 44 is pretty insane.
Yeah. So I guess we can talk about Bol Bol for a little bit. I mean, do you see him like necessarily being like sustainable? And what position would you say is best for him?
I think like obviously he had a great game. Stats were great and everything, but you have to look at it like this. That was a preseason game in a setting unknown to anybody else where like a lot of those guys haven't played a real scrimmage against other people in months. Like I'm not going to take that as fact for Bol Bol in the future. I think he has a lot more to prove, especially from like just in general as a weight. Like he's just a little too skinny for a guy that's supposed to be 7'2". I don't think I guess he did start at small forward, so he won't exactly be getting bullied.
Yeah, I would say the one big hole that I saw is if he's going to play small forward, his handle did not look very good. It was kind of hard for him. Like he had one instance where he kind of went coast to coast, but even then he almost lost the ball with no one really around him.
It's hard to dribble at 7'2".
Yeah, I don't know if he's necessarily meant on offense to facilitate it. It's small forward, but if he could play the power forward center role, I guess, and maybe fill out a little bit, I could see him being pretty good. But his size in general, honestly, is what kind of like catapulted him. I mean, like first off, they're playing the Wizards.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. The Wizards without Bradley Beal too. Like,
yeah, I don't think it was the best competition in the world. All those guys' first games back. I don't know if I think people are overreacting a little bit. One example, I guess. I mean, we had that card podcast, I guess, and so we obviously look at that. He's now the 3rd most expensive rookie this year, behind Zion and Ja.
I mean, it's insane.
I mean,
like he was undervalued. And then yeah. I just think people's view of Bol Bol in general has kind of changed like a little too much. It's like he was underrated and now he's overrated in the span of 2 hours. Like,
yeah, the potential is 100% there. Don't get me wrong. I don't see him being this transcendent guy though. I think if there's one player comparison, I would say he's like a worse Porzingis.
Well, I mean, if they really,
because
I feel like
Porzingis came into the NBA. He didn't really have I guess he had the ACL, but that was later on in his career. He came into the NBA relatively light, at like 7'4", 7'3", and now he's if he can fill out like Porzingis did, then I think potential wise, they'd probably be a nice little match.
Yeah, well, something about Bol Bol that like, if they want to be experimental with him and everything, play him at small forward, let him dribble, go ahead, do that. It's the preseason. But I think that his role established going forward he needs to fill out, gain some weight, and play power forward. Because I mean, they obviously have Jokic. He's not going to be playing point guard. I mean,
I don't know. The thing with Jokic playing point guard, I don't agree with it at all. He had 5 turnovers yesterday. He looked pretty sloppy in general. I don't think the point guard role is necessarily meant for Jokic. I would say Jamal Murray might not be the greatest passer in the world, playmaking wise, but I mean,
I don't think he's bad. I
I don't
think
think he's bad necessarily, but Jokic just he didn't look comfortable, I guess.
yeah.
Yesterday, he had a couple passes he normally connects on. That might just be rust. Um, but
I'd rather have Jokic as a playmaker at center
Yeah.
than at point guard. Like I get, yeah, he's skinnier. He's a little bit lighter on his feet, but just because of that, you can't just go ahead. Oh well, he's a good playmaker. Might as well put him at point guard. I mean, in general, I don't think tall guys should play point guard at all. Like if you're over 7 feet tall, you should not be playing point guard. It's just you're even if you're fast, you're not going to be faster than those guys that are 6'3", 6'4", trying to guard you.
yeah, and at that point, it's just a leverage thing. You got to get the ball so much higher.
Yeah.
But I think with Jokic, the reason they're trying to kind of move him from position to position is if they play a team like the Rockets, I think they want Jokic to be used to getting guarded by a smaller guy as well as him guarding a smaller guy potentially, which I totally understand. I feel like that might have been a smart play by Mike Malone, but with Bol, I mean, he's done the same stuff with Mike Porter Jr. For one game, he'll play him a ton and then just not play him for multiple games in a row. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with Bol, like minutes wise, because they don't have a ton of depth at center. If they play Jokic at power forward and they start Plumlee.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
don't know. I was disappointed because I mean I don't know if Michael Porter Jr. like isn't in Orlando or what the issue is, but he was not playing yesterday. I didn't even see him like on the bench. I don't know what happened to him.
a lot of guys aren't in the bubble yet, too. Like we have to think
Like
about that.
I don't I feel like I would have known if he didn't make it though. So
I mean, is he still recovering?
I thought I mean he was playing this season. I don't think he had any injuries during the year. Um, but that was kind of disappointing. Uh, I mean, I could be. I just don't know where he is.
9 hours ago, Michael Porter Jr. is on his way to Orlando, so he's not in
Okay,
Orlando.
so good. Okay, so he's on his way. All right, that lifts the spirits a little bit. I was very concerned because Jamal Murray didn't play, and I was like, I don't know if Michael Porter Jr. is a healthy scratch too, or what kind of the deal is. Um, but yeah, I guess with that, I mean, if Buble's the third highest priced rookie, I guess, out of this class card wise, who do we think should be the best? Or third best rookie, really. I mean, it's relatively cemented that Zion, Ja, those are the 1 and 2 guys. And I guess some people would interchange.
A lot of people, I mean, you can argue. I think it's arguable to say Ja might be better than Zion right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you really put injuries into perspective, then yeah, maybe Zion isn't as good as Ja just because of that fact. But like, they are the 1 and 2 guys. You can't debate that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to deny that. But that really
Maybe Kendrick Nunn. No, Kendrick Nunn said that. He was like, I think I should get Rookie of the Year.
Well, Rookie of the Year is different than Best Player for the Future.
I know.
Because he's kind of older. But I guess if we wanted to like name the third best player in this rookie class, this is going to be a lot more based on potential than best player because, like we said, Kendrick Nunn is a guy that is older. Same with Brandon Clark and some guys like that. But a couple guys that are younger that have kind of shown some potential, I guess. I know we talked about it a little bit before, but for us, it's both between R.J. Barrett and Kobe White. R.J. honestly, he's had a pretty disappointing season.
Well, if you're on the Knicks, it's going to be disappointing. I mean,
Yeah,
Kobe also.
He's kind of been thrust on this bad team that doesn't really have a primary scoring option outside of Julius Randle. But Julius Randle isn't all that. So
I just feel bad because the Knicks are an organization like I kind of compare them to like maybe like the Redskins
Browns,
or like
the Browns. They're the Browns.
The Browns or like just or the Bengals, a dysfunctional organization, not necessarily a team. Because I mean, R.J. Barrett has a lot of talent. I really like Mitchell Robinson too. I think he's really good. I think
they set the field goal percentage like record.
Yeah, I mean they have a couple good pieces. I just think the thing holding them back is the ownership and the coaching. Just the behind the scenes staff like can't get it done. And Dolan should definitely think about selling the team. I think in general.
Yeah, I would.
Everything about the Knicks organization is what's holding RJ back, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would say I guess we wanted to flip to Kobe White. He had a great season, but had potential to be even greater. but he had some coaching issues.
Yeah.
So
Well, what people don't understand is, Kobe might not, if you look at his numbers right now, he averaged like 13, 14. But that's because he barely played at the start of the season. Yes, I have to say he was a little shaky, but Jim Boylan's handling of everything, like he started Tomas Satoransky in front of Kobe White all the way up until March 11th, and then the NBA shut down.
yeah,
If
so
that shows you how stupid he is, yes.
I mean, I would
He's,
say that the reason it's hard to delineate a real third best player is, I mean, partially because a lot of the organizations that had these lower picks are kind of dysfunctional.
yeah, that's 100% true.
I would say that the Grizzlies and Pelicans are both pretty well run organizations as of this offseason. I know
Yeah, I wouldn't look into the past for those, but
for the
yeah.
Pelicans, I would not look into the past with Dell Demps and all that and the Anthony Davis stuff. But once they got David Griffin, I guess kind of solidified it. But a lot of these younger guys are on, like, I mean, you could even say ball to a degree. I don't want to say mismanaged because that is a very high seeded team. But the fact that Bol hasn't really had the opportunity to shine, it just feels like a lot of the rookies this year um, that have a lot of this talent have ended up on poor organizations, whether that's Kevin Porter Jr., I mean, even Garland, I guess. I know
I
he had
mean,
a great
that's
season.
kind of what it's about, though. Like the bad teams get the good players. It's a revolving door, and depending on your organization, what can you make out of the good player you get? So, like, obviously, the Pelicans and the Grizzlies, they're doing pretty good. I think they have a really good future in front of them. But there are guys like the Bulls that, like, honestly, I think the Bulls have more of a future than these other guys, but they're definitely right now not in a good situation.
Yeah, and just the Cavs management, I mean, taking Garland when they already have Sexton and mismanaging the coach the whole year, just these organizations in general that have these super young talented players, that's why it's really hard to delineate kind of a list of who the best, I mean, even PJ Washington. Um,
Yeah. Well,
Hornets,
you have to remember, like, yes, they might be on a bad team, but there's a reason they're on a bad team. They are a good player. So it's kind of, you have to find a balance.
um, but I guess if we wanted to kind of move on to some more team ownership type stuff, so I guess first let's pick. I mean, would you rather have RJ or Kobe White if you had to choose?
As a Bulls fan, watching most of Kobe White's games, I would pick Kobe White. Obviously, I haven't seen a ton of RJ. I really like RJ. I think he's really underrated too. But I just think in the long term, Kobe White is a guy that has, like, I don't want to say superstar, but star talent. He can be a future All Star, maybe even continue that streak of All Star selections, and then maybe he'll win MVP, and then the Bulls will get another three-peat. So,
Um,
I mean, you never know.
yeah, I actually like Kobe White a lot, but I would say potential wise, um, I could just RJ Barrett just like it's so physically dominant. If he can learn to shoot the ball a little bit better, I would not see him getting stopped by really any.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't argue. Like, RJ could be the
They're
better
both great
player.
players.
Yeah.
I can see it going either way. And Kobe White, I mean, even then, he's so quick and athletic. Uh, I mean, he's doesn't have the best bounce in the world, but like he can shoot the three ball, and he's a lot quicker than other
I
people.
think his bounce is a little underrated. I mean, for being 6'5" and as fast as he is, he can jump pretty well. I mean, he had some okay dunks. Like, yeah, he's not going to be the guy to between the legs jam it, but still,
Well,
I think,
I'm thinking of like he's got the speed of De'Aaron Fox, but he doesn't really have the hops. Like
dude,
he's
no,
slightly slower than De'Aaron, I think.
slower, bro. They're pretty close, dude. You watch Kobe White play basketball, dude.
Dude, De'Aaron's quick. I
Do
don't know.
you, do you remember against the Cavs? I remember that was one of the highlights. I watched that, but like Kobe literally he just so fast. He just got one of the Cavs guys to fall over. Like he's so quick.
Yeah, I still think
He's
De'Aaron
so
could
quick.
be a little quicker, but those would be. He's a better shooting version of De'Aaron that's slightly less athletic. Um,
Slightly. I would say Darren is more
just,
athletic.
just a little bit, but I guess we want to kind of move on to KG and the Timberwolves, another dysfunctional organization.
Extremely. I would say top 2 or 3 in
Yeah, I mean
dysfunctional
they have
ratings.
talent. They've had talent in the past that hasn't really panned out. But I mean, what do you think that? I guess this would. I mean, just the NBA in general. I guess I feel like it'd have kind of a lot of implications. I
I mean,
guess.
it's really important for like teams to kind of experiment with that. If you're not doing anything meaningful, and it's been how long have they been in order? They have never done anything.
Yeah,
Have they
outside of the one
ever?
Kevin Garnett, I mean, the only successful years they've had is when Kevin Garnett's there.
Yeah, and I mean that's with a Hall of Famer and a top 50 player of all time. And if you can't do much with that, are you ever going to be able to do something with the current management,
Yeah,
current ownership? I think if a team is failing and continues to fail even with talent, it's time to, I don't necessarily want to say sell, but it's time to like get everybody out and restart. Like when I say everybody, athletic trainers, coaches, assistant coaches, the GM, the president, like everything gone. Get it out and let's restart.
One thing I do want to say though is that Kevin Garnett would not have the money to do this, so he needs investors. And so he wouldn't necessarily be the owner. He would be like a partial owner, I guess. But if he's going to do that, he would. Most teams that do that want that like partial owner to be somewhere on the staff. So would he just be part of like the owners, or would he be like a part of the staff? I guess would
I'd
be.
say he'd be part of the owners. I mean, I like KG, but his personality might not mix well with a lot of guys. A lot of like, I don't want to say like, yeah, it could work if he was like maybe an assistant coach or something, or even like, what does Drake do? Isn't he somewhat a part of the
He does
freaking?
like some sort of social media thing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's what Kevin Garnett can like be the owner. He can be like, he can be the guy that comes out and like talks to the media and gives us a ESPN clip, something
Yeah.
like that.
But that I don't know. I think it'd be kind of weird, but at the same time, it'd probably be really beneficial. Um, um, so yeah, I don't know what to say other than that. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I mean Kevin Garnett, he's kind of a character. He's got a really big personality. I think this is in the early stages, so there's nothing we can say for sure. But
Yeah, but
I like his attitude as a player in general. I just like the way that he kind of carries himself as a player.
just what that translates to, I guess, management.
And I mean, if you can get guys that agree with you, I mean, go for it. I think that honestly, he could be good or bad.
Yeah, and this is not the first time he's tried to buy the Timberwolves. Him and Flip Saunders, which was the coach when he was there, actually tried to acquire them and were going to, but Flip Saunders out of nowhere died.
Oh, wow.
Which was, I mean, he was old, so but this is not the first time he's expressed that he wants a portion of the Timberwolves. So I guess
I mean, I think it's cool that Kevin Garnett wants the Timberwolves in general. Like they kind of failed him as a player, and he's trying to change that for other players.
So that's pretty commendable. But
I like him for that. I think that's something really respectable to do is to go back to the people that kind of like grew you from the bottom up, and then just kind of like give them something in return.
the only other, I guess, player turned owner, I think, is Michael Jordan. I think he's the only other one. So I guess that
I don't know too much about all the ownerships in every team. I mean, I know the dysfunctional ones, but
yeah, I would say that I'd say that it would definitely bring some diversity to the ownership board in general, which would probably be great for the NBA. But I think overall he'd be great for Minneapolis and Minnesota in general.
I do think that as well.
But I guess we want to move on a little bit to the last kind of topic. Today is the second set of scrimmages, and today the Pacers play. And it turns out Victor Oladipo is actually starting in this game after people said he might not even end up playing in the bubble.
I think he said, didn't he say, "Oh, I'm not going to play"?
I think so. I mean, it's.
I mean, obviously changed his mind.
Yeah. He denied a contract from the Pacers. Was it 4 years, 80 million?
I think it was four for 88.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
that.
James.
Realistically, I mean, that deal in general is a pretty hefty deal. It's not, I guess, what he wanted. He thought he was worth more than that, which I guess bet on yourself. I respect that. But at the same time, I mean, coming off this injury, he looked a little shaky, but towards the end of the year, he started to pick it up a little bit. Do we think he's going to perform well in this little play-in/playoffs?
I think it's hard to tell. I mean, I don't think he's going to do enough to bring the Pacers or to even turn the Pacers into a competitive team. I mean, they're okay. They have the Sabonis, All-Star. I mean, obviously Oladipo's been an All-Star. He's been a really good player in general. but I don't think he's enough to change the fact that this Pacers team isn't going to get out of the first. Maybe they'll win a game or two.
Yeah, I would say that the Pacers are they're
I
very
mean, who are they going to play? The Heat?
yeah. Whoever
Yeah.
they play, they're gonna lose to. I think
I
that's
don't think. I think if they play the Heat, they could maybe win one game,
yeah.
just out of pure like surprise. Who knows?
Sometimes teams have to play badly one night.
Yeah.
Others can play well. I don't think they make it out of the first round, but I would say the Pacers are a team that honestly kind of struggle from like their ownership wanting to constantly win and not wanting to rebuild because
Yeah.
this team is good. Like they have a, but they're never like going to be a championship team unless they pull off some
Yeah.
sort. And they're not going to be able to get big free agents.
They might make the playoffs, but they're never going to
Yeah.
advance in the playoffs.
So they've got to build organically through the draft and either trade some guys for better picks, or I mean, somehow they've got to get lucky on a second rounder or a late first rounder.
I mean, honestly, I think Oladipo, like, he can be the guy. He's
Yeah.
proven he's played incredibly before. It comes down to if that injury has affected that play.
Mhm.
You know, he barely played really at all before the season got canceled. So I'd love to. I would enjoy watching him play just because this is kind of very meaningful, more meaningful for him than others because he's fighting for that contract. He's fighting for his position on the team and in general as a star. Because before his injury, he was a star. We don't really know right now.
I mean, this is a Pacers team though that I guess with Oladipo, I mean they almost beat LeBron in 2018. So, I mean with Oladipo, who knows? I mean pre-injury Oladipo was one of the better players in the league. So it would not shock.
Yeah.
Me.
I mean, but the thing is, this isn't pre. This is post, and we don't know.
Yeah,
it's
I mean, potentially if he gets back to that stage, a year or so down the road, maybe after this plan, it'd be interesting.
These are untested waters. We don't know. Like, it's just something that is going to have to be a developing case. Like, after this pod and a couple podcasts, or maybe the next one, maybe we will have seen he played really well. So we'll see what happens.
Is on Oladipo in the bubble.
Statistically, or
just do you think he's gonna look like pre-injury or post? I guess.
Honestly, with everything, like I feel like he just came back out of nowhere. He didn't really have time to mentally prepare that much. I can kind of see him playing pretty mediocrely. Like, I don't think he's going to go back to 2017, 2018.
That's what I think.
I think he's going to kind of prove that he turned down a big deal and that he needs to either maybe talk to management and be like, okay, I'll take it now, or not. I mean, it's kind of a sad case. Like, injuries, that's just an example of injuries tearing you up. Like, to have such potential like that and be a top player in the league to now kind of not even know what your role in the league's going to be in like a year or two.
Yeah, I would say the same. I don't think that he's necessarily going to come out and wow everyone, but I do think he'll be slowly improving throughout the play-in, I think.
Yeah, he's just got to get back into basketball form and, like, not shape, but form. I mean, basketball is pretty mental if you think about it, just from preparing. And if you're like, okay, I'm not going to go play. I'm going to go play now. Oh, but maybe not. Oh, I'm going to go play. It's hard to find a consistent level of playing if you don't know what you're going to do in your head.
Yeah, I mean, even just some older guys in general are probably going to come out a little slow. So especially a guy that's been injured and hasn't played a ton, I would expect to come out.
Yeah, again, like another thing about Bol Bol, yeah, he played great. His stats were great, but he played the Wizards in a preseason game on an experimental lineup with Jokic at point guard. So take that as you will, but you can't really say, okay, well, Bol Bol's that good. You know, he's just that good.
I don't even know what to say about Bol. That just shocks me that the amount of hype.
I think that just shows. This is kind of going back to the card market, but that's the first taste we've gotten of somebody playing well and then their card going up. I mean, that could be an example for cards to come. That's why I'm holding. I'm not selling again. I sold my Shea today because I already had him up for auction before Bol Bol and everything. I'm holding. I don't think anybody I have is going to play poorly. So, who knows?
I mean, it also just shows in general the amount of hype around the NBA coming back. I mean, sports are coming back, and
oh my god, dude! the ratings, I can't like that's all anybody's gonna watch. Even people who don't like sports. What else is there to watch? Like
Um,
seriously.
I mean, I guess we can talk about it really fast if we want to, but like this will just be a quick one. I mean, do we think the NFL is going to come back, like with the NBA kind of leading as an example?
Right now, if no, no, the NBA worked from day one of March 13th to okay, we got to find a way to get back to this. Like I feel like that's what they've been doing. The NFL has said nothing about anything.
Yeah,
Players have been demanding for information. It's dysfunctional. I feel like I've said that word a billion times this podcast, but the NFL has handled this in such a poor way. Like that's the biggest part of this for me is the fact that the NFL hasn't given any guidelines, hasn't purchased any hotels for the players to stay in or fields to play on. It's with this little time until we're really supposed to see football. I don't think it's going to happen.
yeah. I would just say the sheer sizes of the rosters compared to the NBA
Yeah,
is just, I mean, kind of mind-boggling to think that everyone's going to be able to stay safe with everyone's family. I mean, just the amount of people involved in the NFL is crazy.
yeah.
I mean, the NBA is not on a small scale, so if the NFL can do that on almost a scale it's 2 times as big, that would be like monumental. But I mean,
I mean,
unless
don't get me wrong. I want to see NFL. That's my favorite like sport. I want to watch NFL so bad. I want to see this Drew Brees in his final season win a Super Bowl. But right now, in my head, that's just it's not something that I am expecting. I'm not getting my hopes up.
yeah, it's gonna be really weird to. I can't imagine an entire NFL season happening.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be. I mean, they've already cut out the preseason. That's one of the few things they have communicated, which is definitely going to hurt kind of some of these younger guys. Um, but I mean, I don't know. It's really really hard to tell which direction the NFL is going to go in.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're going to quarantine or they're just going to play and see what happens.
Yeah, I
I know they're
think
doing testing, but how effective can that be?
I mean, the reason we call it the bubble is because this is an environment where nobody is interacting with anything else. They're in this lockdown area of the world almost. Like they are in a bubble. That's why it's called the bubble. You
Yeah,
can't bubble in 3,000 people, 2,000, however many people it is if you take all the trainers, head coaches, staff, like security. There's not a sustainable way for them to do it. I don't can they even I just if they can, oh my god, that's incredible, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, the NFL, of course, is going to try because it's all about like it's a business.
Oh, well,
Uh,
yeah, if the NFL does come back, imagine their ratings too. I mean, everything's
I
going
would
to go
just
up.
say comparatively, when I think about it, the NBA has said they're going to do stuff, and they've really capitalized on it, and they've done it in the past. I feel like the NFL, they haven't really done stuff well. I mean, even like the pass interference thing, like they're like, oh, you can overturn pass interference. Like that was such a failure this last season. Nothing
Yeah.
ever got overturned just because the refs were stubborn. I mean, just the way the NFL has this like unwillingness to change, like from the top down, it's just.
I
Really
honestly
want change.
I hope that the board or the chairman or whoever is controlling hiring the commissioner of the NFL sees this activity with the NFL and the coronavirus and how they're going to lose billions of dollars in revenue and they cut Roger Goodell out of it.
Yeah.
Adam Silver is an incredible commissioner. He does his job great. He communicates with the players and he makes money for the league. You have to have a balance. And I get Roger Goodell makes a lot of money for the NFL,
Mhm.
but at this point, he's just like football's on a downward slope. There's nothing getting better from an organization standpoint. Like,
Yeah. And I would just say, I mean, this is the reason that the NBA in the first place, uh, like retained Adam Silver didn't want to go to the NFL. They offered him before they signed Goodell to that big deal. They
yeah,
offered Adam Silver and he chose to stay with the NBA. And I don't know if that's an ownership thing. Like maybe he's just more comfortable with the NBA, but maybe, I mean, I'm sure he just likes basketball more, but
Yeah. Well, another thing about the NBA is it is smaller. It is smaller, and I mean, right now, obviously, I think in the long run, it kind of depends on the audience. I feel like the NBA has a lot younger fan base than the NFL in general. So I think that's something that kind of it seems so minuscule, but that's part of the money. Like the people that are watching are part of the reason you're making money. So you have to kind of give them what they want. And Roger Goodell isn't doing that.
And I would say that's definitely seen more in like the NFL relies a lot more on like cable TV deals.
Yeah. I will
Versus
definitely be
NBA.
pirating every NFL game if there is one,
Yeah,
so that
versus
Roger
like
Goodell gets none of my money.
yeah, versus like the NBA is kind of partnered up with like YouTube streaming and a lot more of these. I do agree with just the difference in the demographic, but the NFL, I mean, I don't know why they're not trying to get a new demographic. You know, like
Because it's working right now. They're making so much money. Roger Goodell has netted billions. When did he ink that deal? When was he signed? Do you know?
it's been a couple of years. I
Like, I saw a stat where he made like $15 billion in profit for the NFL. Like some crazy numbers. And it's working from a money perspective, and these owners are loving it. I mean, a lot of these guys are just, okay, sure, whatever. Yeah, give me my money. They don't care. Where in the NBA, there's guys like Mark Cuban or like Michael Jordan. There's these other owners who are a little bit
yeah,
more
and
outspoken.
they care about expanding the league versus
Yeah.
just let's make money now and not really worry about the future.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, you've seen that with Dan Snyder and the change of the Redskins name.
Yeah, and then he got all the sexual
doesn't.
like
He's
misconduct
like
stuff.
literally a year ago, he said he was never changing the team name. Then like FedEx and Nike pulled like their sponsorships, and he's
It's
like,
all about money. That's
"We'll be
I feel
real."
like the NFL, I used to think that the NBA was more of a business because they would deal players left and right and they would just kind of get rid. There was no because I do feel like there's a little bit more loyalty to teams in the NFL than
Yeah.
there is in the NBA. But I do now see the NFL as much more of a business. They care more about money than they do the people that are making them the money, the people that are watching the entertainment that is being provided.
Yeah, and I would say that one example of, I mean, the NBA is also a business. Like with that whole China fiasco, they definitely,
Oh, I'm not
I
calling
mean,
it not a
they're a business,
business.
but at the same time, they took a second to breathe, and they did say that they support their owners, and their owners in general are just more outspoken than NFL owners.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
It's
who's the
just
face of the NFL owners? You've got like Jerry Jones, and then in the
who is not a guy
NBA,
you want as the face of
Mark
your
Cuban,
owners.
Daryl Morey, just guys that are outspoken and guys that I guess like realize that they want to like expand the NBA versus just
I
make
think it's also a case of the NFL is already bigger than the NBA. I think that's pretty known. The NFL is a bigger league, more teams, more players, more everything. It's almost like a bigger version of the NBA. Take away the sports and what game they're playing, and you look at them as businesses, the NFL is bigger. So at this point, these owners aren't trying to get bigger because they're already making the amount of money they are. So
well,
they're
the
like,
thing
whatever.
I would say about the NBA is the NBA has grown to the point where they have the potential to expand into foreign markets. So I don't.
Oh yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
basketball is just a foreign game
yeah,
now. I mean, a lot of these guys are European stars. Luca, I mean, Dirk, obviously Hall of Famer, been in the league for years. Chris Stapps, I mean, Jokic.
yeah. So
Name one NFL player who's not from the freaking USA.
I mean, someone that plays the 49ers kick returner who's
Yeah, the Scottish Hammer, or whatever his
oh
name
yeah, no,
is.
the
The
Browns.
punter for the Browns.
Yeah, there we go. There are a couple. But the NBA NFL debate's just weird, and I don't even know if like I don't
And
even.
I'm not trying to debate one or the other.
No,
I'm just
I'm
saying
not
in
either. It's just
general.
weird how the owners act differently as well as just there's so many differences at the top of the leagues. I mean, granted, both of them are making tons of money.
Yeah.
But if I had to get one league to execute something, I would choose the NBA because even with the All Star games, like they change those up, and the NFL makes negative changes to the Pro Bowl. Like I don't enjoy watching the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, the Pro Bowl sucks. The fact that Xavier Rhodes was in the Pro Bowl at all last year is pathetic, and it makes me every Pro Bowl selection, like people used to be like, "Oh, he's been to the Pro Bowl once." I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Whereas the NBA does the fan vote for the starters, and then they do coaches and all that. They've experimented more with how to select things and just changing like the
I
dunk
mean,
contest and all that.
it just makes me sad too because like I love the game of football and I think that there's a lot of really great players in the like from a talent perspective right now is the best it may have ever been. There are some Patrick Mahomes like in his third year it's honestly mind-boggling to me that he's doing what he's doing. Lamar Jackson's kind of changing a lot of the way people play him and John Harbaugh. There's just Russell Wilson. A lot of it's right now is when the old guys are cycling out and the new guys are starting to come in. And it's a really important time for the league to like pay attention and start to think of the future, and they're not.
Yeah, and I would say as like the way teams are playing and like players are changing, like attitude wise and all that, the league has not changed. So
No.
it'll be weird to see what happens, but I don't know. I think the NFL is definitely going to try and play it. I don't know at the end of the day. I mean, they don't even have a plan. Like they haven't announced anything. The players don't know what's happening. Um, so it until they get a plan, I'm not planning on there being an NFL season. They'll try, but I don't think they're organized enough to pull it off.
Yeah, I think that the furthest they might get is they might like buy some hotels or something and be like, all right, this is where we're going to be staying. And like half the league's going to be like, well, I want to see my family, so I'm not doing that. And then
Yeah.
it's going to crumble from there.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be weird. But I would say that's about everything that's gone on. There hasn't really been a whole lot of news coming out.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons we've been really slow with the podcast, I mean, we haven't posted in like almost 5 days a week. It's really just because the news has been so slow. I mean, obviously the NBA is coming back, so that's great. We can talk about that as much as we want. But there is a limit to what we can talk about. Might think of some hypotheticals in the future, but right now we're just kind of going with what's coming in.
Mhm.
And
So, I mean, honestly, even if anyone's watching this, of course, if anyone makes it this far along, if you guys have any suggestions on what we should do next, or I mean, we're always open to comments and we'll respond to you guys, unless it's a negative comment from Alex.
oh yeah, he's never gonna hear this.
He's not
He will
here.
never listen to this.
Um,
I know Braden and Marshall may hear this, but I doubt Alex will ever hear the words we were speaking at this very moment.
Facts. It doesn't matter. Regardless, if you guys can make sure.
I just want to clown on him for that alone.
Yeah. Just make sure to throw them in the comments, and especially make sure to definitely check us out on Instagram. I know
Please.
Parker for sure has put in a ton of work on that.
Yeah.
With me occasionally doing.
Hey, it's a 50-50 split, my guy. Yes, I've made a lot of graphics, but I like it. I think it's fun.
It's been a lot of fun to work on.
It's a creative experience.
Yeah. And it's more creative. The podcast, of course, is fun to record, but it's been cool to kind of like.
It's another outlet for our creativity to express.
Just.
God, my vocabulary is just
I think you messed up the sentence grammatic. I can't even speak.
Grammatically, you can't say grammatically. Grammatically.
Used express too late. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. All right, we're getting all right. It's been good. Let us know if you have any ideas. See ya.
See ya.